a range. So it did bounce back. The futures actually broke into the green and now just coming off a little bit. I think the market breadth is probably still adverse, but the CNX mid-cap index is in the green. This is no definitive trend really, but just pointing to that fair bit of choppiness that we're seeing. Small hillocks really, so to say, for the Nifty in the first 15 to 20 minutes of trade. But I tell you, what's also been volatile is the coal block auctions really, and so much to discuss about with regards to the coal block re-examination as well as the MMDR bill. So we thought it best to get in two experts to speak about their views on both of these topics and what could be the likelihood of a decision making that could happen over the course of the next 2 or 3 days. So let's get in Ravi Uppal, MD and Group CEO, Jindal Steel and Power. He joins in, of course, to speak about this in a bit. We'll also have a representative from FIMI coming in and speaking about that. Good having you, Mr. Uppal. Thanks so much for joining in. I'm going to break up this discussion into two parts. We are first going to talk about the coal block re-examination, and then we are probably even going to shift to the MMDR bill as well. First, the coal block re-examination. Okay. I'm sure your reaction is that, hey, if everything was on record, online, then there has to be no reason for this to happen. What is your reaction to these select coal blocks being sent for re-examination?
Well, we basically believe that the entire auction process was a very transparent and a fair process, and whatever be the outcome of that, it should be accepted as such by the auctioning authorities. We are at a loss to understand as to why this thing has not happened so far. We have not heard anything from the government. We just hope that they will take a positive decision based on the outcome of the auction process.
Mr. Uppal, morning. In case the decision on Gare Palma 4/2 and 3 is not in your favor, what happens then? Do you approach the Supreme Court in that case?
Well, this is a bit hypothetical. We have full trust, faith and respect for the government. I'm sure that any decision they take in a very responsible way. The present government is a very progressive government. They're working with a sense of urgency. I don't think they will take any step which will be seen as a retrograde step, or which could be create a more trust deficit between the industry and the government. I'm absolutely sure about it. We have a wonderful leadership, and mind you that this kind of auction that they've done, it was unprecedented in the history of this country. They have done it in such a clinical way, and all compliments to them. But now, once we know that the outcome is there, I think the award should be based on the outcome of the auction.
So, are you saying that Gare Palma will not be recalled?
No, that don't put words into my mouth. As of this moment, we are waiting for the government decision. They have, decided to re-examine certain blocks, and I think the decision should be taken very soon. And we do hope that take a positive decision and they award the coal blocks to all the parties which were the successful bidder in the auction process.
Right. Mr. Uppal, the logic given by the coal secretary was that in the same geography, coal blocks of the similar nature and of the similar size, they got bids which were disproportionately higher than what JSPL had bid for. So is it just a coincidence? It's a rare coincidence.
No. I think that there is, let me say, I think there's a huge amount of misunderstanding about the auction process and the factors which influence the price. The size of the mine is one. The current status of the mine, whether an operating mine or a mine yet to be developed, is second one. The strip ratio is another factor. Then, you also have to look at the logistics out of the mine to the nearest point of application. All these factors have profound influence. The reason why I'm saying current status of mine is very important. If you, for example, if you take Gare Palma 2 and 3 mine, this is a mine which has been operating for the last 7 years. The current mining rate is about 6.25 million tons, which basically means every day you have to mine between 20 to 21,000 tons of coal. And there's absolutely no roads there. The nearest railhead is about 80 kilometers. When you have to take out 20,000 tons of coal and you to transport away, so you can imagine what a huge challenge it is. In terms of truck trips, if a truck takes about 20 tons, every day you have to bring 1,000 trucks to take away 20,000 ton of coal mineral. This is a humongous task. I think sometimes we are taking a very oversimplified view of the mining task involved. Auction is an activity which will get wrapped up, at one point of time. But the ones who are buying up, who are acquiring the mine, they have to live with these mines for the next 25 to 30 years.
Well,
and
I
any price that you
mining
quote,
is a very complicated process. It's not easy to mine. There is a process and there's a technology involved in it. But the concerns which have been raised are not been raised by me or by my channel. These are the concerns which have been raised by the coal secretary, someone who has conducted the auctions, someone who knows the intrinsic value of the coal mines and is now perhaps just curious to look at the entire process, that why was such a difference between two bids.
See, my simple submission is that it is not fair to compare the price of one mine with the other, because for the factors which are governing each mine are so widely different. I will just give you example of Gare Palma 2 and 3, which is an operating mine. Look at the size, and mind you, once you mine the coal, if you don't mine the coal, that you would have to pay a penalty. If you mine the coal and you don't have PPAs, you have to deliver the entire coal, coal to Coal India, and then you have to also pay the premium to the government. You also have to keep at the back of the mind that whether this kind of cost that will emerge from this, is it comparable with the other option that you get a coal linkage? So this kind of coal is going to work out very expensive, because there are three components: the premium you pay to the government, the various cesses and royalties that you pay, and number three, the mining cost. So therefore one has to take a total view. I'm afraid sometimes people are taking a very truncated view or very oversimplified view of the mining issues. No two mines are comparable. Let me state it and restate this point.
I guess.
And therefore, drawing a...
Yeah, no, Mr. Uppal, the point is fair. I guess what the coal secretary did mention 2 or 3 days ago was just this, that the transparency did not rule out re-examination of blocks, and they are looking at the lower bid blocks just to examine the bidding process. And he did categorically say that they are not investigating any case. There is no complaint against the company. But yeah, the opinions may differ out there, and your point is well taken on board as well. But let's get another opinion on this. Mr. Uppal, request you to stay on in this discussion. Also, let's get in Mr. Basant Poddar to speak about this. And Mr. Poddar, what would your view be? I'm sure the industry is saying that, hey, it was done at par, so why is there this need of re-examination? But Anil Swarup did mention that transparency did not mean that there cannot be re-examination.
No, I think it is the first time a coal auction has happened in the country, and obviously there must be some issues which have not been sorted out. So I'm sure both the government and the winners will find a solution to this. And the Make in India program, the coal mines, coal production in India getting up to 1 billion tons. I think all this will fall in place. These are initial glitches which I'm sure will be sorted out by both the users and the government.
Yeah, but what if it doesn't get sorted out? What if in the decision taken tomorrow, day after, or over the course of the next week, the government does decide that some of the blocks that were auctioned are they are revoked, so to say, because Anil Swarup did say that the government has 3 options: re-auction of the coal blocks, reallocate the blocks to the states, or give the blocks to Coal India. What happens in such a scenario, Mr. Poddar?
Yeah, but most of the blocks won't be re-auctioned. It is only a few blocks. Yeah. And I'm sure they will sort out this issue.
I'm talking about those 9 blocks, Mr. Poddar.
Sorry?
I'm talking about those 9 blocks.
It is only in the initial stages these glitches may happen, but I'm sure they will be sorted out and they will be ironed out, because the government is a progressive government. They want to kickstart the economy very, very ASAP. So in my opinion, even if it's not sorted out, they will come to some settlement.
And if it doesn't happen, Mr. Poddar, do you think this could really dampen the sentiment for future coal blocks, as well as investors who've been watching how this process has been going with a magnifying glass, so to speak?
Yeah, if it doesn't get sorted out, I mean, they have to sort out one way or the other. And in my opinion, it should see a reasonable settlement. That's my personal opinion. It should see a reasonable settlement. And going forward, I think these issues will be behind us in the future. So initial round of auction, 1 or 2 glitches happen, 1 or 2 issues crop up. They will be ironed out by the government and the users. I am very, very sure.
Have you at FIMI also approached the government or the ministry on this issue? And if so, what has your stance been?
No, we haven't approached this issue because we do not know the details of what is happening, why exactly it is being re-examined. But the indications are that there should be a reasonable solution to the whole thing.
Mr. Uppal, the entire re-examination which government has proposed, do you think that will be done independently by the government, or they have also asked for some clarity, some paper and your side of the story as well?
We have not heard from the government as yet. After the auction process was over, I think the government is doing its own examination. We fully respect anything which is done by the government. I think they are within their rights to undertake any re-examination they want to do. The only thing that we would like to, sort of state here, that the process, as also confirmed by the government and the the notified authority, has been extremely transparent, open, and therefore the outcome of such a process is also to be respected. That is all that we are for saying. And as I said, that it is a great way forward. Not only for coal, but other other mines, notified mines, which are being covered by the MMRDA Act.
Okay, well, I think we'll be able to cross this bridge when we come to it. Mr. Uppal, it would have been good to get from you a sense of what happens if Gare Palma doesn't eventually come to you as well. Is there an impact scenario that you've internally chalked out? What happens if that doesn't happen?
But I would not like to comment upon something which I think is hypothetical.
Okay.
My own faith is very abiding in government. I think, yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. Now that we've discussed this re-examination bit, and I think there'll be more discussions on Monday, we'll probably get you gentlemen again, but let's talk about the MMDR bill as well. What were the major takeaways for the steel sector from the MMDR bill, Mr. Uppal?
Well, I think there are a lot of positives in the MMRDA bill. I think it is going to bring a lot of clarity, a lot of certainty and stability for the mining industry. And the amount of interference that has been happening in the past from various authorities, I think that's going to be put to the minimum. And so I think, it's a great step forward. But I also have certain concerns in regard to the way, the new charges are being introduced. For example, as it is, our royalty that we pay to government is highest in the world. If you look at, the iron ore, it's a 15% royalty that we pay in the state of Orissa. In addition to this, two new things are being introduced. One of them is a district mineral foundation charge, which is 1/3, but that is a 5%. And then another 2% charge, which is a national mineral foundation charge. So all total, it will increase from 15% to 20.3%. Let me tell you, nowhere in the world, the royalty is more than 4 to 5%. In countries like, Brazil, it is about 2%. China, is just as much. So you can imagine that if our industry, based using these minerals, has to stay competitive, what it means in terms of their competitiveness. Where is 2% and where is 20.3%? And mind you, this is in addition to the CSR fee that we pay, 2% of the average profit of the last 3 years. So I think when we're talking of Make in India, it's very important that we look at individual components which go to make the industry very competitive. Whether it's in terms of royalty that you pay, terms of the internal freight that you pay for inward-outward movement. I'm afraid that on many of these accounts, Indian industry is not well placed.
Mr. Poddar, what is your sense? Do you see mine allocations, approvals getting streamlined as the bill would come into effect?
Yeah, mine allocations will happen in a transparent manner. There might be some initial issues, but they will all be sorted out. But as Mr. Uppal said very correctly, in Karnataka we have a worse position. We have a forest development tax of 12%, we have a contribution to the SPV of 10%, and we have royalty of 15% and VAT. So this adds to a mind-boggling 42% in Karnataka. As a result of which, the steel makers in Karnataka have either shut down their furnaces or are importing iron ore from South Africa. So this is a crazy situation. You have billions of tons of iron ore reserves within 100, 200 kilometers of the consuming industry, but you're importing from, South Africa and Australia iron ore. And these mines in South Africa are located 800 kilometers from the port. So it entails railway transport of 800 kilometers, west coast of South Africa, all the way around Sri Lanka, wrapping around Sri Lanka, coming into east coast of India, unloaded there and getting into Karnataka. I mean, this is like carrying coal to Newcastle. What are we talking about? 42% taxes in Karnataka. There has to be uniformity, competitiveness, otherwise the industry will die. The mining industry will die with such huge burden of taxation.
Mr. Uppal, so ultimately who will bear the brunt? Do you think industry will be forced to pass on the price hike or the new taxation structure to the consumers? Steel cycle is going through a terrible downturn, and with this elevated taxation pressure, the levy pressure, things will only look shaky.
But I'm afraid that the Indian steel industry will not be able to pass on the additional cost coming out of the additional burden from royalty and the other cesses which are imposed now. The Indian steel industry is already going through a very traumatizing time, and the imports have increased by more than 200%. The Chinese and Russians have flooded the market with their products. We have no protection whatsoever, tariff or non-tariff protection, against the imports from China and other countries. And the Indian steel industry has many medium and small scale units have shut down. So when your market is open and open to the imports, absolutely unabated imports, the domestic producer don't have the option of passing on the cost increase to the market. So the net result would be they will cut down their production, and many of them will go into losses. So I think we have from industry have always been saying that we must create a level playing field. Only then you can have free flow of imported goods. Then we can fight it out. Indian producers are very cost conscious and cost competitive. They're very cost competitive. But when you have inherent disadvantages in the system, like paying 20.3% royalty, paying the freights, inward outward fare, which are much higher, and the local internal transport costs are much higher. So where is the question of level playing field?
Well, we do hope all those points are taken into account as well. But gentlemen, we run out of time on this discussion. But Mr. Poddar, thanks so much for joining in on this discussion today.
But if you allow me, I think just one thing I'd like to add here is that we are very optimistic that the present government will take cognizance of these issues. They're very sensitive to the concerns of industry, and I'm sure that we should be able to overcome these issues in the not a distant future.
Well, all fingers crossed for that, Mr. Uppal. And I repeat, it's great having an extremely candid industry captain like you on board. So thanks so much for joining in today as well. I think we'll chat with you once again on Monday, Mr. Uppal. Thanks for joining in today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, that's the discussion on the coal re-examination, coal block re-examination, auction re-examination, let me put it that way, and of course the MMDR bill as well. Some problems highlighted by the industry. By the way, no problems for pharma in the session right now. These stocks may be under cloud, the likes of metals, JSPL, etc. But pharma, look at that. Look at Glenmark, 872 and counting. Sun Pharma is having a